Hello, fellow Redbirds. Welcome to Bird Fans Forever podcast number 28. If you're new to our channel, you should check out our @BirdFansForever Twitter account and follow to get the first notice of new videos that we publish. You can follow along there also for other information and fun polls. Our website is www.birdfansforever.com, and on there you can find our links to all episodes of our podcast across many apps. Apple, Google, Spotify, and others, as well as a tab to access our videos on YouTube, where we're also called Bird Fans Forever. So dunk on the YouTube subscribe button and follow us on Twitter so you'll be the first to see new episodes and get other fun information from us. Our guest for today is Steve Fitch, who played for the Redbirds from 1991 to 1993. We'll be right back with Steve.
Hello and welcome to episode 28 with Steve Fitch. Steve played 2 years at Lincoln College and then transferred to Illinois State in the 91-92 and the 92-93. He plays on 2 conference championship teams and then goes on and plays beyond that. And so I've known Steve because I was finishing up playing and he was sitting behind the bench coming in as a recruit, and then got to watch him play 2 years at ISU. So it's been awesome. And then we do a lot of the alumni stuff together, and I got some great alumni pictures of Steve. So, Steve, thank you for being on. How you doing, big man?
I am doing good. How are you? How's everybody on the panel doing?
Awesome. Really well.
Awesome. Yeah. This is going to be great. All right. You know how it works, right? We ask easy question to you. Here's a nice lob. How did you get to ISU?
All right. Well, 2 things. I went to high school and grew up in Oak Park. So I went to Oak Park River Forest. I thought I played pretty well in high school, well enough to get some attention. I think out of high school I had Southern Illinois, I had Drake, and I had Ball State. But I did not qualify. So It was either do I sit out of the 4-year school or do I go to a junior college? And when we sat down with my high school coach, we decided, let's go to junior college. I can get better. Right. So ended up going to Lincoln College down in Lincoln, Illinois. It was a very, very good 2 years. Played very well down there. Was a starter both years. I think I scored over 1,000 points. And then while being recruited, Reggie Wilson, who was my roommate, who was my teammate, also my roommate at Illinois State, he went to ISU a year before me. So when I was being recruited, it's my turn to come. I had actually no inspiration to go to ISU. I loved the school. I actually had not. I had pretty much, it was a done deal. I was going to go to Iowa State.
Wow.
It was a done deal. And I think I had like 3 schools that were really, it came down to 3 schools because I ended up signing early. So It was between Iowa State, it was between New Orleans, and ISU was like right around 3rd or 4th, right? Then I got calls from Texas, and I got calls from Kansas State, and I got calls from Boston College.
Wow.
So I go on my visit to Iowa State, and while on the visit, and I also had another teammate there who played with me in junior college as well. And he was struggling. He did not like it at all. And you got to remember, Iowa State had a legendary coach named Johnny Orr who did a really good job. He did a really good job recruiting. So on the visit, the night we were supposed to do something, they kind of left me and another recruit in the room. So we were calling, we were trying to get in touch with everybody, we were trying to do all this stuff, couldn't get anybody. So next thing you know, we were leaving out Sunday because you had the 48-hour rule, right. And we didn't eat, we didn't do anything. And
oh my God,
oh, man.
So, well, what ended up happening is our chaperone and his girlfriend got into an argument and pretty much ruined it for us.
Right.
And when I decided not to go because I got back to campus, I talked to my junior college coach at the time, and if anything would ever happen, you know, how much of control do they have with their program? And then my ex-teammate who was already up there said, Johnny Orr was on the back end of his career,
Right.
and
Right.
he wasn't around a lot, and he was used to having really good relationships with the head coach. And I kind of listened to that and decided, basketball is one thing, but am I going to be able to complete my degree? Am I going to be able to complete school and stuff like that? Are they going to look out for that part of it?
Yeah.
And I decided when I got back, I wasn't going to Iowa State. If they could forget me around the corner, it could be something totally different. Especially if you don't go play well or you have a little slump, then you could be swept under the rug. So I decided when I got back, I was going to wait till second semester because I ended up signing early, and I was advised not to because Texas came on real strong.
Yeah.
I was one of those players that I wanted to go up and down the floor. So. Long story short, Reggie Wilson called me and said, "Hey, listen, I think we can be really good, even though we're 5-23 or 5-30 or something like that." he says, "I think we can be really good," and me and him were very close.
Yeah.
So at the end of it, I looked at, will I play? Yes, I will play. I looked at, will I get my degree? Yes, I will get my degree. And I looked at it as, I love the school. So it just seemed like a really good transition. And when I got back to campus, I decided, cool, I'm going to go to Illinois State and I'm going to play with Reggie Wilson.
That is awesome.
That's how I got to Illinois State. So, but I had no inspiration at first.
Well, in that 5-25 season, with Fowler blowing out his ACL minutes before they get on the bus to go to Dayton, would have changed that season completely, right? The year before my junior year, I broke my foot, right, jumping against Indiana, and I played 10 games at a broken foot, and we were 7-3 with me, and without me 6 and whatever. And so having an extra big is always huge. Now, I do got to say this. Gerard Coleman, our sophomore year, you would have been a freshman in high school, leaves 2 recruits in Watterson Lobby, drunk out of their mind, and they didn't commit to Illinois State. The next year, Scott Fowler left a recruit in the lobby. So thank God Iowa State returned Illinois State's favor and we lost recruits. We got a recruit because somebody else left. Oh, man, I'm sorry that happened to you, right? Because your recruiting trip is a lot, right? I mean,
man, especially at the time, I wanted to play Big 8 basketball.
Yeah.
Iowa State was a staple. Johnny Orr did a very good job.
Yeah.
When I decided not to come, he went off.
Oh, I know.
Oh, man. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Did I make the right decision?
Yeah.
Am I going to get chased down the street? So, And a fun fact about that whole visit to Iowa State. So I don't want to say I was, it was because of me, but this is what I heard. So on the visit, when I was at Iowa State, I'm in the locker room. They had a practice, and they had one of those practices where all the fans come in and play, right? I mean, watch the players. So there was a kid in the locker room, and I kept saying, who is this kid? And they was like, oh, he's just a local kid. He's just around. And this kid at the time was from Ames, Iowa.
Okay.
And he had committed to Arizona because I guess Lute Olson was very big in Iowa at the time.
Yeah.
And he took the Arizona job. So
yeah.
I this is what I heard. I was Iowa State's #1 recruit. When I decided not to go, Johnny Orr retired a year later, and a guy named Fred Hoiberg changed his mind and decided to go to Iowa State.
Really?
The story is when I decided not to go, he changed his mind.
Yeah.
And decided to go to Iowa State. So that's a little fun fact. I can't confirm that. That's just a rumor that I heard. But I think he made a good choice.
Yeah.
He did okay.
Yeah. He did really okay.
He made a really good choice.
So, Steve, we already talked about this the year before you showed up, that the team went a wonderful 5-23. You show up on campus, and remarkably, it goes to 18-11. You guys win a regular season conference. I don't know if it was all you, but we're going to give you credit since you're a guest right now. It had nothing to do with Vandegaard or any of those other guys. But so let's talk about the Drake game, and you played them a couple times, and let's talk about them.
Well, I can say it might have been the luck of the Steve. So I'm going to take some of that, but just don't let my teammates know. So one of the more memorable games, my first year there was we're playing Drake at home, and this is a wild game, and we're going back and forth with Drake. So I think I shoot a lane and get a breakaway, and I go up to dunk the ball, but one of the guys ran me down. So he was running so hard, I dunk the ball and hang on the rim, and he tries to take me out but slips and runs into the referee and breaks his arm.
Oh, man.
What?
It's a crazy game, right? Crazy game. So there's like a 30-minute delay at this game while we're waiting for, the ambulance to come and the paramedics and, all the trainers to make sure he's all right. And they take him out. Now, and I think if I'm right, every game has like a third ref in waiting or another ref in waiting, right? So, that guy got warmed up and he came out. So now we start back in the game. And this is a game going back and forth. I want to say I had one of my better games this game. And all of a sudden, maybe 10 minutes later, maybe 5-10 minutes later, Coach Bender faints on the sideline. So he just falls out. So, we turn around. So now we got another 30 minutes. So I want to say this game, and this is probably one of the most unique games I've ever played in. It wasn't a fight. It wasn't someone broke the backboard. We talking about a referee breaking their arm, and then we're talking about the head coach fainting on the sideline. So the game must have took like 3 hours. So that's all I can remember. And luckily, maybe because it was a 3-hour game, we end up beating Drake. So that's definitely one of my more favorable games and unique games I ever played in. Wow. So to piggyback off of that, we go to Drake. Now, this is crazy. We go to Drake and then we're playing in the old place, and it's so tripped out. Yeah. My daughter plays at Bradley, so when I go to Drake, I've played in the old place and I played the new place. And the
Did
old
you play
place,
in both of them?
I played in both of them.
Oh wow!
So it's so tripped out when I go to the games now. I see the old place is still there. So
really? Okay.
Yes. So I remember close game, and it was a rough crowd that night. And they had a really good player. I think they had the conference player of the year on the team. And we end up at regulation. I think Mike Vandegaard takes a shot. We're down 1.
Mm-hmm.
He takes a shot. He misses it. They win the game. They run off. Everything like that. They run off. And all of a sudden, I say, we hear a whistle call. So we're in the locker room. They're in the locker room. The referees go back to their locker room, bring them back on the floor, right? They bring them back on the floor, and Mike Vandegaard gets fouled on the shot.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets 2 free throws with no time left. He hits both free throws. We win the game. And that's it. And walking off, they threw pennies, they threw whatever they could at us. But it was another unique game when you're talking about that year after being 5-23, and we come back and we win 18 games. We won some games in some unique ways. We played very slow basketball. We played possession basketball. We wanted to beat you at possessions and limit your possessions. So it was. I can definitely tell you. It was a unique crash course into high IQ basketball instead of just getting, how they play now. They just get up and down the floor and just, take a lot of bad ones. You got to remember, we had a 45-second shot clock, which is, I think now, it's an eternity. So those two Drake games are very, very, very unique. So I can say those are games that are up there in my career.
Yeah. And I got to see Steve. I texted him, hey, you coming to Illinois State to watch your daughter play? And he's like, yep. So I got to go see him. I chatted with him at halftime and then caught him after the game for a couple seconds. And so good always catching up with former Redbirds, right? And so,
like, anytime I can get down to ISU, it's always fun. It's definitely always fun.
Yep. So, wow. Bender feigning. Yeah.
I mean,
awesome.
Literally just collide.
Yeah.
I have to send you some footage because I have all of those highlight tapes. So I have to find a way.
Oh.
So they show him actually feigning.
Do you have it on VHS or do you have it on disc?
No, I got it on digital, so I'll find a way to get it over to you. If you might have to have a Dropbox or something like that, so I can move it over to you.
Yeah, easily. I can figure that out. That's not.
Yeah. Lowenthal, did he take over when Bender painted?
No, we waited about 30 minutes, and I think he came back.
Are you serious?
If I'm right, I might have to follow up with Todd Kager or somebody, but I think he finished the game out. They
awesome.
Probably gave him some smelling sauce and a bucket of water, and he came back out.
He's good.
Gatorade.
Get it back in there.
They're in a bag of ice. So definitely a funny time.
So Steve, Pemberton always loves to tell the SIU versus ISU, the NBC championship game. People standing room only. The fire marshals got fired, and all these different things. But tell us the story. SIU coming in, playing you guys for the conference championship.
So actually, I was at that game where Jon where they won it, and it was definitely electrifying. And then my junior year, we were tied with Southern Illinois. So I think they were undefeated in conference play, and we were undefeated in conference play. And they were coming to our place, and I got to admit, they had really good players. I think they had Chris Lowry, who later became the head coach there. They had Andrew Amaya, who he had some couple years in the NBA. Marcus Timmons, Chris Carr, who played in the NBA. They had all these players, and they came to our house, and when I tell you, I can't remember a time the upper bowl, that last seat by the ceiling, was packed. It was packed. So I can definitely say, playing in front of the ISU crowd when you're 10,000 plus, it's an unbelievable feeling. But we end up losing the game. and I want to say they found a way to get that game televised too, because it was one of those games where you got a conference championship, who's going to take first place, who's not going to take first place. And it was just electrifying. And when I look back at that, I think I had some highlight moments in that game, and just a unique game, just a wonderful game to play in, and very exciting. So when I look back on my career at ISU, that's one of the games I remember.
So Steve, I had I don't think I admitted this on the podcast, but I had a daughter that went to Missouri State. She did cross country, and I had another one to Murray State. So as a parent, it's much different watching your children play, right, versus when you play. So talk about that, like being a former player, being in the stands. Is it harder to watch, okay, or is it harder to actually be in a competitive game?
It's hard to watch some of the things that you've been through, that you could just kind of tell somebody something. But I'm more the type of parent. I'm a fan, and I'm not a sideline coach. What I really like to do is let them make some mistakes, process it, work through them, and then I can help them with the emotional part of the game. With that part of the game, because the physical part of the game can work itself out with reps and working out, but the emotional part of the game is what holds you back a little bit, So for me, I have a daughter that plays. She plays at Bradley, and she calls me all the time, and which is really fun, right? Because I just remember when I played, I come from a single parent household. like I said, I would take one step forward and two steps backwards. So I didn't have the outlet to process,
Right.
or reach out to somebody. And then let's be realistic. Basketball is everywhere. You can go to someone over here or someone over there, and it can help you kind of work through some of these things, especially when you're having a hard time or you're struggling. So my daughter calls me all the time, asks me what's the approach, how should I handle this, and it's definitely been it's been exciting to help her through this process because I want to say from my experience I can give her a little bit more, and I think it's working for her a little bit there. So on top of that, my son is in high school. He's about a 6'7", 6'8" junior. He goes to Brother Rice High School, and he's really starting to evolve as a player. So, I always say, I think it's better to be a late bloomer than an early bloomer.
Yeah.
So he's really, really processing that. I hope he continues. And you got to understand, John, you know this. When me and you played, it was like you had to do really well at your high school, or you had to do well in the summer league. Now you got all this. Yeah. You got all of this travel ball. That it's a gift and a curse. As far as it's a total different other style of play, but it also allows those players who don't get exposure to get exposure. So it has its upside, it has its downside. But I love the fact that you could be a kid that nobody know of and make a name for yourself.
Yeah, if you could produce, you can get to an AAU team, a travel team, and get a chance to be seen. And really, high school coaches don't come and see many high school games unless you're playing against somebody they know is a Division I talent, right?
Right.
Every year when I would play against Kenny Battle at West Aurora, they would show up. There'd be a lot of coaches in the stand. Now, 99% of them for Kenny, and one was for me. But but Illinois State was there, and there was other teams there. But they wanted to see you go against somebody of caliber, right? And I got to see your daughter play. She played wonderful. She's in a tough position. Bradley team is trying to rebuild and retool and figure out what their stuff is, and so she's going through a tough season. Well,
I the great thing about it is I would love for somebody like Todd Cagle to talk to their team and be like, hey, I went through the same season, and all of a sudden the next 2 years we turned it around. But they're rebuilding. They're young. You know how it is when you're young, and then nowadays players move so much.
Transfer. What do you think of the transfer portal?
So for me is when I look at the transfer portal, I kind of feel there should have never been a rule on you had to sit out to transfer, right?
Right.
But I do believe you should not be able to transfer within conference. Hey, if you want to go 1,000 miles away, fine, you shouldn't be able to sit out. Or if you want to go to the next conference over, you shouldn't be able to sit out. But I'm not going to give you an audition to take my player.
Yeah.
So I do believe there needs to be stipulation within conference. But a lot of these kids are it's two things. A lot of these kids are transferring because they expect to play. The days of earning the play is a little tough. And I tell players all the time, hey, listen, you get to college, they're not just going to throw you out there because you got a highlight tape or you got a name. You actually have to. You have juniors and seniors. You have to produce, and you have juniors and seniors in front of you.
Yeah.
So the average player don't get real good minutes to their junior year anyway.
Right.
I don't think people know that. I just hear people say, "Listen, he's on the team. We should play." Good luck with that.
Yeah.
So if you're good, I always say cream rises to the top. It might take some patience, but I wish some of these players will have a little more patience because I think anytime you have a humbling moment, you just get better. You just get better.
Agreed.
Yep.
So your son's getting looked at. So it sounds like you're pretty quiet in the stands. I mean, are you yelling at all? Because Bender really wasn't a yeller. Who was your junior college coach again?
So I played with two guys from Illinois. I played, my freshman was a guy named Steve Yount, who's like a legend in Augustana. In Augustana. And then I played for a guy named Joel Bryant.
Okay.
Who was he's from Illinois. He used to be the head coach at Idaho State, and he coached Indian Hills to national championships.
Yeah.
Now, he was a different type of coach.
So was all three of ththose different, right? You have Yount. He wasn't like Bender, right?
No, well, Yount was an up and down guy.
Yeah.
So he was a visionary. You know, he is how coaches coach now. O'Brien was more defensive guy.
Okay.
I think when Bob first got there, when Coach Bender first got there, I think it was a little laid back. I think after that 5-23 season, it changed him.
Yeah. But it wasn't as laid back as you'd like to think about it, right? Because, I mean, we did have a team fight in the locker room, and he was because he knew we should be producing, and we were struggling a little bit making the transition from a Donewald, team to a Bender team, right? And it's there's a little bit of a different mentality and the treatment of players. So, I just was curious how that worked for you, right?
Well, I think for me, which was a unique coaching staff, right? You got Coach Morris, you had you had Coach Bender, you had Coach Lowenthal, you had Ray Giacoletti, who that he was a very good coach. He was our earning restricted coach. They had that goofy thing back in the day.
What is an earning restrictive coach? What is that? Oh,
well, when I played, that third assistant coach, he wasn't getting paid as much, and he couldn't really go out and recruit.
Oh,
now,
really?
I think that's something. They changed the rules, so. But I think coaching versus, like, my daughter's recruited, my son's being recruited, and when I hear coaches talk nowadays, I'll give you a good example. My daughter, they have like individual meetings, like during the season. They ask you questions like, "How are you doing? What do you think about it?" They process with you a little bit. I mean, when we played, it was like, "Hey, you played the season and it was over with." We don't do anything for the summertime. Now they practice all year round.
Right.
They check in with players to make sure they're all right. I think if we would have had a little bit more of that, I think you could have maximized some of the players that we had.
Oh, agreed.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, there's some guys that would come back way out of shape coming back into the. Yeah.
Those summers were very good down there.
All right, Steve, we know numbers are very personal. So, what number are you at Lincoln?
My freshman year, I was 30. My sophomore year, I was 4. Reggie had left. He took 4 at Illinois State. So when I came to Illinois State, I had to take 3. But I heard 3 was the magic number.
Oh, there you go.
It was Scarich's number. It's not the magic number. I mean,
well, somebody said if I take 3, we'll win a conference championship.
That's because you weren't big enough to beat up Reggie to take the number 4 back, were you?
That's a good point.
There you go.
And you said he was number 34 at Lincoln.
He was 34 at Lincoln.
Oh,
yep.
And then
you remember how uniform sizes were. The numbers are tailored to whatever you want. But
Absolutely.
Back then, the smaller numbers were the smaller uniforms.
Yeah.
So that's how it went. So
that is awesome.
That's why Pemberton was 53.
There you go.
And they didn't have numbers on the shorts.
Oh, they did not. They did not.
That's why you had to wear 53 then.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, and also think about this. Steve is probably very happy. Our shorts were even shorter than his shorts were. I mean, our shorts were horribly 80s short.
They were short, but not as short as the kids now because they like them short and tight.
I know. Which is crazy, right? Because then we went through the phase where everything was down at their ankles, and then all of a sudden,
things come in cycles.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. They do. All right. So here we are. we're going to get into a little bit of celebration of life. So Reggie Wilson played at ISU, right? He was Steve's teammate at Lincoln and also at ISU. He came after. He was at a lot of our stuff. I was with Gerard when we hosted him, and so he kind of hung out with Gerard and I. They wanted him to be a big like Scott. And then after his playing days, his life was cut short with he was carjacked at a gas station and his life was taken. And so for those that don't know, he and Cliff Peterson both have trees right outside of Redbird Arena by the front. And so I usually walk in and see the 7 and usually touch the 2 trees and just say hello to them, right? Sad for me. You played with him. Start talking about playing against him in high school and that stuff.
Well, you know, I met Reggie when we were in high school. He went to Holy Trinity High School, and they always played in our summer league. And so I remember him very well. He was an all right player. He wasn't as good as then, and then I don't remember.
Man.
Listen.
Yeah, he grew in his game and his strength a lot.
I am not being unrealistic here, right?
Yes.
I'll put it like this. He goes away to Lincoln College his first year, and the stories that I hear when I came down is his first semester, his freshman year, he had to adapt, and then he started lifting, and this is a great message to every young kid out there. Lift weights. It does wonders.
Yes.
He started lifting. I heard he comes back his second semester. They had a little break, and he just took off. I come down my freshman year, his sophomore year, and I hadn't really seen him play since high school. We started working out, and I was like, whoa, this dude is an animal. I mean, he had arms and shoulders and legs, and man, could he just muscle you in a basket? And his attitude on the court was to just annihilate you. You know, so I was thoroughly impressed. But the better thing I was impressed with is he took me under his wing. He was like a brother to me. He helped me make the transition to college basketball, and he helped me because Reggie has a great family. He also helped me become a young man as well. So I can definitely I would like to thank his parents for that, his mom for that, and his sister. But you know, like I said again, when I told you earlier, when I decided to make my decision, he was a big part of me coming to Illinois State.
Yeah.
So he was also my roommate at Illinois State, and he is a great role model to follow for anybody who was coming along at that time. A guy who was not heavily recruited at high school. He goes to junior college. He gets bigger. He gets stronger. He changes everything. He goes to Illinois State his first year and has great success. I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Undersized power forward that played 2-3 inches bigger than what he is.
Absolutely.
But off the court, you're talking about a brother. I mean, Reggie Wilson represents what an Illinois State basketball player should be.
Amen.
If anybody who watched this podcast was around at that time and they knew Reggie Wilson, they would say the same thing. So for me, I would like to say thank you, Reggie Wilson, for being impactful on my life, helping me make some decisions that has brought me to where I'm here today.
Yeah. I loved coming down and watching him play, right? And off the court, he was just you walk in the locker room and Bender would always be like, yeah, he's the nicest guy in the locker room. We'd get him on the court, and he's going to just try to wear you, dunk on you until you just give up. And so, oh man, could he get off it's so quick off 2 legs.
Oh my
one
God.
leg, and God. And so he could.
And as a fan, he brought the energy, and the dunking was just awesome.
And rebounding and toughness and leadership. and off the court he was a funny guy. He was definitely charming. He was I mean, he's a class act. That's what I say about Reggie Wilson. So, you know, for me, I wanted to be like Reggie Wilson.
Yeah.
So.
That's right. I wanted to be like Steve Fitch, so it makes everything all better. So, Steve, this is where we wrap things up. Here's your chance to go into closing, and then we'll wrap this up. So, floor is yours, big guy.
Well, like I said, this has been extremely fun. I want to thank Jon, Steve, and Jon for having me on. for having me on. This has been very exciting. I want to thank, like I said, all of my teammates for a wonderful experience. Todd Cagle, Mike Vandegaard, Todd Wimhainer, Scott Taylor, Scott Fowler, Reggie Wilson, Richard Thomas, my man, Elvin Flores, all those guys.
Wait.
Yes.
What about Chuck?
Oh, I was about to say Chuck Barnes.
Okay.
And rest in peace, Antoine Hicks.
Yes.
He was also very helpful for me in my transition when I came to Illinois State. Chad Altadonna. Those guys are great. I still talk to those guys. So I would like to say we were close-knit. I thank those guys for helping me with my career and helping me play basketball after that. I learned a lot of great lessons at Illinois State. I want to thank Bob Bender. I want to thank Ray Giacoletti, Billy King. Those guys were really intricate for me for where I'm at right now.
Yeah. And we love watching you play, man. I didn't get a chance to play with you, but loved coming down and watching you play. You were awesome. Proud to be a Redbird, just like I know you're proud to be a Redbird, and proud that you are part of our family. And I got a chance to play with you guys during the summers. And could not keep. Man, when you get out of college quick, you start losing a step, and all of a sudden it's like I could not push Reggie around like I could when he first was showing up, and then by the end it was like, forget it. I better be smart and not step on the court. But Steve, love you to death, big boy.
Same here.
Good luck to your kids. Right, hopefully finish off the season healthy and can get to where they want to go. With this is Bird Fans Forever. It's been Steve Fitch, my man. Jon, take us out. You got clapping.
All right.